These 10 questions are an absolute goldmine for discovering your grandparents' story. My name is Sean, and on this channel we talk about all things family history and tips and tricks on how to preserve that history for future generations. In this video, I'm going to give you my top 10 questions to ask your grandparents, or really anyone whose story you want to learn more about. There's been a rise in services and products out there geared to help you discover the stories of your loved ones. I'm thinking about services like Storyworth or life story journals like this one, or even things like this box of questions you can ask your loved ones. But today I'm going to give you 10 questions absolutely for free. And no, I didn't just steal these questions from Storyworth or Tales and repackage them for YouTube. I've actually helped dozens of individuals and couples tell their life story through video biographies since 2020. And over the years, to get to know my clients, I've developed a system for uncovering the major information of a person's life. Every person's story is unique, absolutely, but most people hit similar beats along their journey. Before we get to the questions, I want to mention that I have an absolutely free 20-question guide to telling your life story, or the story of your loved ones, which you can download at the link in the description. Okay, these 10 questions that I'm about to give you in this video aren't meant to be a comprehensive list, but you can think of them as gateway questions to unlocking information. Once you get them talking about one thing, they'll naturally start talking about another and so on. And here's where I'll let you in on a little secret. One of the keys to getting someone to open up about their story is to ask very open-ended questions. And the most open-ended questions aren't even questions at all. Most of the questions I'm about to share with you actually begin with a few key phrases. Tell me, talk to me about, or describe for me. Framing your questions in this way, more of a prompt, gives the storyteller permission to talk about what they want, not confining them to telling a specific story. And I think this is really important for families to understand. This is their story, not yours. So here are some tips for how to ask these questions and what to do and not do in the process of listening. Tip number 1, do not try to control the flow of information. Give them a question that gets their wheels spinning, gets them talking, and then just let them talk. Tip number 2, do not interrupt. If a question comes to mind as they're talking, write it down and wait for them to finish before asking another question. And if you think they're finished telling a story, try waiting an additional 5 to 10 seconds before jumping in. Sometimes pauses in the storytelling are really helpful, and they may be processing their story or emotions on the spot. You do not want to interrupt that processing. I can't tell you how many times I've waited an awkward amount of time before asking a follow-up question, only for my clients to just keep talking. And sometimes what follows that silence is incredibly important. Tip number 3, do not correct them. If you notice in the process of their storytelling that maybe they're recounting the details of their story incorrectly, or they're getting sidetracked, don't try to correct the details or get them back on track. This is especially important if your loved one has dementia or another cognitive impairment affecting their memory. I can only imagine how frustrating it must be to know that you're forgetting details about a story, even your own life. There's just no need to correct someone who's in this state. And trying to do that actually changes the dynamic of the entire conversation. What's more important, that the details of their story are perfectly accurate, or that you and your loved one are sharing a moment together reflecting on their life? Tip number 4, tread lightly with trauma. It's natural to be curious about the bad things that have happened to your loved ones, but one misstep around trauma can shut the whole conversation down. If you notice them getting emotional around a topic, give the moment some silence, and then gently ask if they'd like to talk about what they're feeling. They'll usually come right out and tell you what they're feeling, or they might say they'd rather not. Don't pressure them into talking about something they don't want to talk about. And when in doubt, silence is your friend. They may just need a moment to process what they want to say or not to say, and I really recommend you give them that moment. Tip number 5, ask their permission to record their storytelling. At the very least, you can pull out your phone and record a voice memo of the entire conversation. You'll be so glad that you have that in the future. If they're unwilling to be recorded, you might want to try reassuring them that this is just for you and your immediate family, not for outsiders or social media, and that it would mean a great deal to you to have their voice recorded for the future. If they're still unwilling, you absolutely need to respect that, and I would just advise you to embrace the moment with your loved one. All right, without further ado, here are my top 10 questions, or rather prompts, to uncovering your loved one's story. Number 1, tell me about your childhood. Some people can talk for hours about their childhood, and opening up with this prompt will usually get them talking about where they grew up, their parents and family dynamics, maybe their school or hobbies. A person's childhood is a treasure trove of information and can really help you understand why they are the way they are. You may find that in the process of answering this prompt, they actually answer the next couple of prompts naturally. Number 2. Talk to me about your relationship with your parents and/or siblings. A person's relationship with their parents may be the most formative relationship in life. So these dynamics are a key to understanding someone and their story. We also need to understand that these are usually the relationships that can cause the most trauma. Try to focus on the positive aspects of this relationship. You may even want to ask follow-up questions like, what lessons did you learn from your parents, or something along those lines to help your loved ones focus on the positive. Number 3, describe your most cherished childhood memories. This prompt opens up their mind to talk about any of the positive stuff in their childhood. It's fascinating to watch what comes to mind when you give them such a broad question, but if they need help honing in, you can ask them about who their friends were, what hobbies they had growing up, and so on. Number 4, tell me about the role models you had in your life growing up. Although parents may be the most important of all relationships, many people have other relationships that were key in their formation as a human. Usually you'll uncover stories about a teacher, a neighbor, another family member. A great follow-up question here would be to get into the specifics of what they learned from those people and how these relationships made them feel. Number 5, talk to me about your ambitions in life as you entered adulthood. With this prompt, you might discover that the way their life turned out wasn't exactly what they had envisioned. They may have wanted to go into a certain career field or attend a certain school, but for whatever reason that didn't come to fruition. They may have known they were going to take over the family business or gone in a different direction in life because of circumstances. Honestly, some people end up doing exactly what they hoped they would. Follow-up questions to this might involve asking about their career or accomplishments later in life. Just make sure that the transition feels natural. Before we get to the next 5 questions, like this video and subscribe to the channel if you want to see more content about family history and tips and tricks for how you can preserve those stories for future generations. If you have specific questions about your family history, feel free to leave a comment below or email me at the address on your screen. Number 6, describe the moment you met your spouse. We all love a good love story. If you're asking your grandparents these questions, there's a good chance they had at least one significant other in their life at some point. Use your discretion based on what you know about their story already, but if they're still married or widowed, this is a great place to start when looking to learn more about their love story. A good follow-up question here would be something like, what attracted you to them? Or tell me when you knew you two would be together. Again, use your discretion here and tread lightly if you're dealing with divorced grandparents or another set of unique circumstances. Number 7, talk to me about your children. This is very open-ended and it gives the storyteller the freedom to take this in whatever way feels natural to them. They might talk about their kids' personalities, what they like to do growing up, or even their current careers and families. Just like with the other prompts, this one can serve as a great launching pad into all of these stories and perspectives from your loved ones. You may want to follow this prompt up with some more pointed questions about what each kid was like, their accomplishments, successes, or challenges in parenting, or something else you want to know. Just remember, you're not trying to control the flow of information. The goal is to get them talking and follow their train of thought. Number 8, tell me about your favorite memories together as a couple and as a family. We'll kill 2 birds with this one stone, but split them up if you like. Most couples had some time together before they had children, and I love hearing about what their life was like before those kiddos came around. You might follow up with a question about the things they did regularly together, some of their favorite restaurants or meals to eat together, special vacations, and almost all of these follow-up questions can also double up when it comes to the family as a whole. Number 9, what are you most proud of with your life? Our first actual question of the bunch, this one moves you into more of a reflective stage. And if you have the opportunity to get to this point in the questions all in one sitting, it often gives your loved one the proper context to really think about this question. They've just talked you through essentially their whole life, and in light of all that, their response to this question is going to be more informed. And number 10, if you could give your younger self a piece of advice, what would it be? I think this is a more tasteful way of asking someone about the regrets they have in life. And I saved this one for last because it can be quite emotional for some people, and if it's asked too early, it can shut the conversation down completely. Wait until you've gotten through a lot of the good and positive stories and moved into a moment of reflection before using this prompt. And always use your discretion if you see your loved one becoming emotional. That said, it is important that we learn from our loved ones, and a big part of that is learning from their mistakes or things they wish they'd done differently. I'll give you one more bonus prompt, and this one might be the most powerful of all. What advice would you give to your children, grandchildren, and future generations in your family? While the last prompt causes someone to look back on their own life, this prompt is designed to get your loved one looking forward. Based on all their experience and lessons learned, what information is most important to them to pass on to their family? I ask this question at the end of each of my video biography interviews, usually without warning, and I'm absolutely blown away at the responses I get. I know that if I had the opportunity to ask my grandmother this question, I'd ask her in a heartbeat, and I'd treasure that for the rest of my life. If you'd like to learn a little bit more about me or my story, feel free to take a look at this video here. Well, there you have it, my top 10 prompts to ask your grandparents to uncover their story. Remember, we've got a free 20-question guide to telling your life story or that of a loved one, which you can download at the link in the description. I hope these prompts help you build a deeper relationship with your loved ones. And if you have other questions you think should have made the list, leave us your thoughts in the comments. If you like these questions, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel for tips and tricks to preserving your stories for future generations. We'll see you in the next video.